Hello everyone, welcome to Media Crash episode 20. Today we're going to be talking about first-person shooters. My name is Holden, otherwise known as Time to Grind.
My name is Daniel, otherwise known as Not Daniel.
My name is Matthew, also known as Sutter.
Still known as Sutter?
Not Sutir.
No, not anymore.
Not anymore?
Not since the accident.
Never. This is my favorite joke in the whole... we're never going to let you down.
I mix it up sometimes?
Yeah.
That's fair.
So... But I guess to, so we don't like go into like a 10-minute, off topic like we normally do.
We need to wait until we're like 5 minutes into the podcast.
Speaking of usernames
Exactly.
that sometimes work as gamer tags, first-person shooters.
Oh, that's first-person shooters.
Yeah.
That was a segue.
That is.
You were dead quiet and dead still.
I didn't know what you were going for.
Didn't translate.
But yeah, so we're talking about first-person shooters. So I guess a good way to get into it is just like what we were first introduced to the genre. Because I know for me, easily the first was Call of Duty and Halo, both of them. Back on the Xbox 360 days, and just every iteration of, I think it was Modern Warfare 2 was the first one I got really into. I played locally, did all the 1v1s on Rust that you could have, no scope onlys, and then Modern Warfare 3 was the first game I had Xbox Live for, and I was able to see I wasn't actually a god. I was just mere trash among all the other players. So those were kind of my first experiences. What were y'all's?
So my parents didn't want me to play anything with guns or shooting until I was at least 10, but I wanted to play earlier because obviously. So my older brother had an Xbox and he didn't live with us. He had an Xbox that was still at the house and it had Halo on it. So I would turn the volume on the TV all the way down and play really quietly, and I would listen for footsteps, and if they started coming, I'd turn the TV off.
And just sit there with a controller in your hand with the TV off? You're like, I'm just pretending to play.
I was so shit at Halo 2. I was on the easiest difficulty, but of course, tiny me couldn't really play the game all that well.
Not young you, just tiny you.
Tiny you.
How Daniel works is...
skill in an FPS.
How Daniel works is when he ages, he doesn't get older and more mature. He stays the same intellect, but he just grows in size.
Basically, yeah. I am mentally a 0-year-old, I guess.
Yeah.
I remember, because I remember coming over and playing Halo with you at your parents' house when you weren't allowed to play. Or I think it was at the phase where your dad was fine with you playing, but your mom wasn't. And so I remember we'd be playing, and then we would hear your mom come home. We'd hear the garage door opening or something.
Yeah, we'd scramble to go put it up
and do other things. Yeah. What was your experience?
Ooh, my Call of Duty, but not any of the Modern Warfares as you know them. I grew up playing the original 3 Call of Duties, the World War II ones.
Oh.
And all the memories people have of those older games I have of the D-Day invasion. I remember when in the campaign you still had to use health packs in the first game. There was an actual health bar, and you would get health packs. I remember that. It wasn't until the second game until they changed that.
Oh, so it was literally only one game?
Yeah. And they must have made a shit ton of, back then they must make a shit ton of spin-offs. And I played those. But, yeah, I played and then the second one I really, really liked. I think it's my favorite of those original. Because then you start playing different campaigns. And then there's the third one, which is weirdly edgy. It was edgy at the time. It was, even though it was a T game, it was there was an actual story. If you guys remember at all.
Not at all.
I
just played multiplayer. I'm just a multiplayer guy. I just go in and...
But it had all the effects of the newer campaigns. But it was when they first started doing it, so they're kind of lame. So they started doing the quick time events where someone would come at you just randomly. You would press a lever, and all of a sudden a German would randomly attack you, and you have to press B against them and just throw them off the.
And all these set pieces of huge things blowing up.
Oh yeah, that was in the game, and everything when you think of the Modern Warfare on campaign, that was in the third one.
Yeah.
But it was discounted.
It was discounted.
Yeah.
Man, it's there's so many memories. I'm just started thinking about playing Halo with you. I remember 2 or 3 years ago, we were like having a bunch of like people over at your house, and like we were drinking or whatever. We were living it up.
Yeah.
And we popped in Halo Reach campaign, and me
Oh
and
my
you
God.
were not okay to be playing video games like
We were
mentally. Or
yeah,
like,
we were shit at them, but it was so much
yeah,
fun.
it was like it brought back the freaking. I think the only other like
Halo Reach was definitely the first person shooter, one of the first anyways, that I like really got into.
it just Halo Reach has such like the multiplayer anyways. Especially with like the Forge world, it just I still haven't played a game that like makes me feel the same way I did every day going home like after school, like going over to
Yeah.
like my friend like Anna's like Xbox and like playing all the Forge games like Jenga and like Cops and Robbers and like I don't know, just like nothing matches that to me. Like even like playing like but like I was playing the Halo Master Chief Collection and I don't know. It's just maybe it's just like it was the top, like being a kid and stuff, and it's partly nostalgia.
It is a pretty quality game.
I will say that there were two games that I remember creating with like friends that I think you guys might have played. One of them was in Halo 3. It was called Fast Infection, and it was like where the zombies like ran at like max movement speed, and there was low gravity, and all of the humans had like random items like every round, and then I don't know, it was just a cool variant on zombies. And then the other one was I think in like MW3. We made something called like Jug Infection or something, and it was like
I remember playing
it was
that one,
Terminal, and all the survivors were juggernauts on the top of that place, but they had no regenerating health. It was just like there's so much you could do when you have like 10 hours a day to play video games, and like
Yeah.
all you care about is like first
Video
person.
games.
If only
yeah.
that were like a day job or something. Give us money. Do it now.
Do it now.
But I just remembered the other game I played before it was popular was Battlefield 1942, which
Oh.
is the original game, which had like an expansion pack with a bunch of DLC in it. So there was one that was like, you fight Italy. And I never played that one because I didn't care about Italy. Even then,
No one gave a shit about Italy.
and then there was a really cool one called it was like Secret Warfare, and it had all the quirky World War II secret tech in it. So
Oh.
like you could have a jetpack, you could have there was like the prototype World War II jets that were on the thing and it would fly, and you'd be in a jet. It had all this cool shit. And then there was Battlefield Vietnam, which I didn't know anything about Vietnam until I played it, and then now I know a bit more about Vietnam at the time. And it had it introduced me to all that music, like all
like
that
the,
like
super,
Oh, like
super,
Jimi Hendrix?
yeah,
sort of
Fortunate
thing?
Son,
okay,
Nowhere to
gotcha.
Run.
What's that song? Wah! Huh.
Yeah, that one.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the first.
What
Each
is it
each
good
map you
for?
picked, the loading screen would have a different song,
Oh, that's pretty dope.
and I would
Sick.
memorize what song came with which. It was really, I don't know.
The-
Games.
Especially like that just makes me think of all of like the trailers for Battlefield nowadays. Like they all try to choose like super like set PC, super like orchestral or like extreme music.
Come to think of it, I think FPSs were a fair bit more experimental back in the day. Do y'all...
In a way, yeah. As in, they didn't know what FPSs were supposed to be, so they just kind of did whatever.
Yeah, I don't think it was like a conscious thing where they were like, artists doing artsy things with the genre. It's more like, well, like you said, they didn't really have it pinned down.
That's what CS:GO was just like. They're probably just like, I don't care about aiming down your weapon. We can just not have to do that. And it
Yeah,
became this like,
That's like a whole nother, because that's the thing with first person shooters. It's like a game comes out, I guess this is just all genres in general, but like a game comes out and it's super popular, and then all these other, it like creates a new genre. So like for like the Half-Life games, obviously those were revolutionary first person shooters because of the story and, the world and obviously the gunplay. And then there were a billion mods for just every Valve game. And then, but for Half-Life in
Back when
particular.
Valve made games.
Yeah, or they told other modders to make their games for them. Like that's like where Team Fortress, Team Fortress and then Team Fortress 2 created the class like genre. That's what Overwatch took inspiration from.
I like how drastically different the tone of the TF2s and 1 are. Like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
when you look at the art style of the first one,
The first one just feels like faster paced Counter-Strike.
yeah,
Yeah, because that's what it pretty much was. It was a mod, for. Well, I don't know if Team Fortress was a mod for Counter-Strike or Half-Life, but either way, they're all based on each other. But like, have you seen some of like the development for TF2?
Oh yeah, it's very
like the development that TF2 went through. Like there was so many different things. Like it at one point was going to be some super gritty, serious. I'm really glad
Humans versus aliens or something.
Oh yeah, TF2 is one of the best first-person shooters of all time. I think it's still stand. I mean, there's a reason. Like what 50,000 people are playing it still at any given moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's
Eat
interesting,
your heart out, Evolve.
what's interesting about FPS is it's a broad topic of games where it's sort of just, it could be a genre, and like that's what it is. It's a first-person shooter. But like a game could be anything and plus an FPS.
Yeah, because I mean, you could have like RPG first-person shooters like Borderlands,
Fallout.
or Fallout. Yeah.
And
Or some other third thing.
Or some other third thing.
Far Cry. Far Cry is just like a mix of everything. Like
Yeah, but I mean, I'd say that's still like a first-person shooter. Yeah, I was always into like I know you were really into Fallout and stuff, but I was always super into like the uber competitive ones like Counter-Strike. And
I remember you were a salty boy.
I was
played those, but I was too when I played them with you. Kids are just salty, and when we were kids, we were salty. And we're still salty if we play now. Nothing has really fundamentally changed.
As I grew up, I stopped caring for like multiplayer ones, and I started latching on to not only like for like single player ones, but like still single player ones with good gameplay, which are very rare, or at least fun gameplay. Maybe not like good, but like Wolfenstein and like Doom and Far Cry to a degree. Like the Far Cry is like good. It's like solid. It's not terrible like some of the other like less focused ones are, single player ones, and it stands on its own.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
But I always latch onto those because then I can like, I feel like a guy in an action movie, kind of like mowing down like 12 guys at a time.
See, my divergence from like normal FPS kind of went in a different direction. I'm like really, really bad at anything that requires reaction speed. So I always played first-person shooters that were like way, way slower. Like, well, DayZ really got me into Arma, and then Arma got me into more milsim games. I got Arma 3, then I got Squad. Like, I just love that because it's still first-person shooting. You're still, shooting people in first person. I guess that's the only really thing you need to define a first-person shooter.
Yeah, no, there's really nothing else.
But yeah, it's kind of one of those genres that it's its own genre now because there's so many games. Like, did you ever play Insurgency?
Insurgency, or the new
one? Oh, okay, that's something that's like I feel like it's a good middle ground between games like CS:GO and then games like Squad or Arma, where it's still like a lot more like realistic and like slower paced like those games, but it like brings it a little bit more into like the more structured base of like CS:GO, if that makes sense.
You see, I feel like that's what Squad already did. Like, Squad is like Arma, or like, I should say, tactical battlefield heavily modded Arma that makes it like a lot more fun, but more streamlined into like something you can actually play, because you have to jump through so many hoops to make game modes in Arma and to like even play established game modes in Arma. It's almost ridiculous. But like Squad is a streamlined version of a mod for Arma called Tactical Battlefield, where you have like radios and proximity-based voice chat and mortars and all sorts of cool things.
Ooh.
Oh, go ahead.
I was trying to go through like the other similar games of single-player FPSs. BioShock, that's a good single-player
game.
Shooters. And I think like a couple of years ago, I just bought all of the BioShocks and played them like sequentially, chronologically, and like those gameplays are fun. I always really like get shooters that have like a smaller selection of guns, but they really have a different feel to them.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what like BioShock kind of does.
That's why I like always like. I agree completely with you. Like, I think the less options there are in a game, as long as there are still options, it allows the people, like, it allows the developers to just make the game more in depth. Like, by limiting things, it makes it more in depth. That's why, like, the one thing I don't like about TF2 is like the item system. Like, I would have way rather it like there's like a billion weapons for every character.
I
And
don't know. I kind of like that.
it just makes it so hard to balance them. That's why, like, whenever you played competitive TF2, which wasn't official by Valve, ever, like that's maybe the part of it they would never care.
Competitive TF2 we
Yeah,
have now is
it's like
broken.
all of the item, like 50% of the items are banned because like they're just broken in the hands of like actual players.
Are you sure that's an accurate statement?
Well, like yeah, like when we were playing like Highlander or like nines or I don't know. I think Highlander is nines or sixes. Those are the two. Like I know you could
Highlander, which is 9v9, one of each class, and sixes, which is six people like playing whatever.
Gotcha. Like there was like I know like a lot of the drinks I think for Scout were banned. Like I think wasn't Criticola banned?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I just remember that a lot of things like
with
I don't know. Yeah.
With TF2 specifically, I like them because there's a lot, but they all have a very specific design to them that kind of like leads to what they are.
Mm-hmm.
They're like they are just stat boosts and downs, which is fair, but like at least it's not like in my opinion, like in Modern Warfare, where you have like 3 different assault rifles that all are a variation of the M16. Where you have there's some that it's like it's M16, the M4, and the M4A1 or something. I'm like, what do these all do?
And you have like no reason to use any assault rifle other than like maybe the FAL if you're being like
more accurate.
Yeah. Otherwise, you just use whatever the highest ranked gun is.
Yeah, and
I just realized like that's a whole because that's a whole nother part of it is like Modern Warfare games, like the create a class system. Like at first I really, really loved that, and then I loved it when Black Ops did the like pick 10 system where you could truly like, oh, you don't want any perks and you just want to have a gun with all these things. But the problem with that is it like makes it where everybody starts doing the exact same thing.
Metas.
So, yeah. But in a game like TF2, just imagine if there weren't items, or like CSGO, like when you simplify it and you don't have all these weapon attachments, there's still a meta, but it's not such like an obscure meta where you have to put 7 attachments on a gun to make it. It's just like, oh, the AK-47 is good, I'm gonna get the AK-47. Versus Modern Warfare, it's like, oh, you want to know what's meta? The AK-47 with this attachment and this attachment and and it's like everyone just if you're gonna have that big of a system where everyone's doing the exact same thing. I don't know.
That's when the customization of that level in those games loses luster. When it first came out, I'm like, this is cool, like being able to get the barrel in the back of the gun and the magazine. But after a while, you don't want to do it. You're just like, what's the best options for this gun? Okay, let's go. And it just kind of becomes that.
Like that was the new Modern Warfare game, which like the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare, I think it's an amazing game. Me and Matthew played it a stupid amount.
It has a really cool customization system.
But like, it's too much. Like I literally, in my opinion, it's too overwhelming. Like I stopped playing for like 2-3 months because I burnt myself out. I go back in and there's just like 1,000 different attachments that you can have on every single gun. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like just throw me.
It is cool at first, like customizing them. But after a while, you sort of just default on the... What's your take on this, Daniel? You look like you have a face.
You fucking scrubs to play Mech Warrior.
Play
Mech Warrior online and like don't use some like pre-made build, and that's when the options like expand infinitely.
Really? I can see because it's just like every different mech part. Like,
yeah, that's not even a first-person shooter though.
Yeah, that just made me think of Hawken, which was like a way more arcadey, like Mech Warrior, like. Which, I guess I don't know if those count as first-person shooters. It was first-person, so...
Yeah.
You could zoom out to third... Does it count as a first-person shooter if you can zoom out to, like, third-person even temporarily?
No, that's fine.
I would assume as long as the focus was
because we're talking about Fallout, and that breaks that.
Yeah, Arma breaks that, too.
If my idea of the game is mainly in first person, then it's a first person shooter.
Yeah. Hey, technically Star Wars Battlefront could be a first person, like the old ones, but anyone that played in first person is a scrub.
They were just
that was the unoptimal way to play.
Another point to the whole different weapon variable. I know you hate this, but I love it. Is the games that go for the older style shooter games where they have like the variety of weapons, but they're all like since it's like. Not every gun can be automatic technically then there's even more variety of like I'm talking about
I have no
Battlefield
idea
1,
what you're talking
Battlefield 1 and like Fistful of Frags is what I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Like Western style games do that really well where you can have shotguns and lever action rifles that do But you can also have like your standard pistols that.
So are you saying like you like it when like a game has like the same weapon twice, just one of the guns is like semi-auto and some of them's like fully auto?
No.
Is that what you're
I'm
saying? Or are you
saying
just
like
saying-
when you have a shooter in an older setting, usually
Oh, so
the
you're saying,
technology is limiting what you can use,
gotcha.
and so like
not everyone just uses whatever the best like full auto weapon is.
yeah, rather than 4 different snipers that can kill a man even at like 100 meters away, there's one that can do that. And so when you're like, I'm gonna get that gun, and that's really cool. Or there's only one semi-automatic shotgun in Fistful of Frags, and it's like like it's
But like to be fair, the argument with that would be is like if a lot of people are still going to gravitate to those type of. That's why I think Fistful of Frags does an insanely good thing where like if you want to use the better weapons, like you get less money per kill. So it's like say you're playing like the modes where you're just trying to kill people, you don't like get 1 point every time you kill someone, you get an amount of money, and the amount of money is dependent on like what weapon. So like we were playing with our friend Corey, who like every game Corey plays, he just tries to do the most stupid strategy like possible and make it work. But it works in Fistful of Frags because he's like, no scoping with bow and arrows, and like he gets 1 kill every like match, but that 1 kill gets him like a stupid amount of money, so he gets like 3rd or 4th, you know what I mean? So, like,
you can pick the gentleman thing where you get penalized if you attack someone before they attack you, but when you kill them otherwise you get more money out of it.
oh yeah, like
You pick that, and you got like just bare knuckles, and you would go and attack people.
but they had to shoot at him first.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like that you just made me think about like Battlefield 1, and I think the best part of that entire game for me was being able to ride the horses and like swing with the sword or whatever, and like the desert maps and stuff. That was so satisfying to me.
But Battlefield 1 does it like as an actual competitive shooter, and in that, like when you pick your class, there's not much attachments because at the time they limited that, and it was really relieving to me because you can just pick a gun and kind of stick with it.
I agree. So were there attachments, or was it just?
So how it worked, how they did it, and I liked it more, even though it was still kind of weird, is instead of doing a bunch of attachments for different guns, each gun had like 3 varieties,
Oh, okay.
which had like a couple attachments.
I remember that. I always picked. I liked playing a scout with a weapon that had like, or a rifle that had no scope, so there wasn't like a glint. It also reminded me of like playing Arma, and I don't know why I wasn't playing Arma back then. Anyways, it's kind of off topic. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
how the
no.
weapons work.
Mhm.
But like, yeah. And like, for example, one of them, like it would be like 2 of them would be the same sniper, but the third one would have like this attachment where it was basically you modified the pistol rounds in a semi-auto, so you can go pew, 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 pew.
Yeah.
Just dumb shit like that.
I think I hated it at the time, but now looking back at it and like now being so overwhelmed by like Modern Warfare, I think I like that approach more because it's closer to like CS:GO. Like CS:GO to me, I love like the economy based like shooters where it's like you just every round you're like buying different guns because then you can have amazing guns like the Op that are super powerful and totally better than everything else, but it's balanced out by like how much it costs. Which like I don't know, maybe that would be a cool way to do like the pick 10 system where, maybe like, because in the pick 10 system in Black Ops, everything costed 1 point. So it was more just about, oh, do I want more attachments or more like perks? But what if like it was like that, but like really good weapons costed like 4 points, and then some of the worst weapons costed 1?
Not a first-person shooter, but this game called Mordhau does
Ooh.
something, similar. Like if you want a Zweihander, that's going to be, I think it's like 8 gold or something. But if you want like a short sword, it's going to be 2.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar there. You had perks which cost gold. You had armor which cost gold.
Since this is, we're talking about FPSs, I get another excuse to talk about Fallout. And I guess when it comes to the first-person shooter part of it, it technically is probably one of the weaker parts
It's the
of the Fallout
worst
game.
gunplay I've played in a first-person shooter.
I
ever,
will agree with
think.
you, for the most part, yes. But
Do you have
But the
one where it
actual-
was like worse? Have
Yeah, because you just said
experienced
for the
worse
most
gunplay?
part.
have I experienced worse gun? Probably with all the probably like the Jedi Knight game that I played, where it was mostly a lightsaber game, but like you would pull out a gun and you would become a first-person shooter. So you just go like you would have a lightsaber, but you can go up to a gun
For
and go.
some reason, I imagine when you say pull out a gun, like it's not like a blaster or anything. A
It's
Jedi
an
just
actual-
pulls out a Glock and starts shooting.
No, but
Holds it sideways.
okay. Can I tell you a story about that game because it relates to first-person
Yeah.
shooter stuff? Is game is mainly a third person, but when you switch to those guns, it immediately goes to first person. And I approached like the super spooky Sith guy that like had a cloak and everything, and I was like, I'm gonna pull a grenade, a thermal grenade, and I'm gonna throw it at him. What I realized is I was throwing it at a Force user, and he immediately threw it back at me. I was like, ah! And then Corey, same guy Corey on Discord, didn't know the context at all, except me hearing me say I threw the thermal grenade, and he was like, "Did he throw it back at you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." All right, but
So what were you gonna say about Fallout though?
so for Fallout, since we got sidetracked, what I liked
do we
is the RPG survival aspect really lends to the FPS part. Not with the shooting, because shooting sucks, but with in Fallout New Vegas mods, which we already talked about modular putting on weapons. But I really liked it in an RPG setting because it meant you're building it up throughout a long campaign rather than just picking it for one match. And so like you would have this normal gun, but then you would craft and put on a silencer on it. This is with mods, by the way, just for context. But like, and then eventually I had like, I was like, this is not completely useless when I get a better weapon. I can pull this out to snipe someone.
It's a good version of Fallout 4 crafting.
Yeah.
Fallout 4 crafting is pretty fun.
It was overall, but I think the problem with it is it just, same thing with Holden talking about, it just overwhelms you. And it becomes like Borderlands where all the enemies drop the same weapon technically, but they're like just random, like they'll have like a short, like a really, really long barrel, but then like a no stock, and you'll just like, what the fuck is, like...
Yeah.
And like, why would every weapon any enemy would have would be completely different? Like, I just thought like it would make more sense if most of the weapons were the same, and if you fought like a boss, they might have something special on it that you could grab from them.
Yeah.
But that's how I would.
That makes me think of like Borderlands, where like, you know, the game obviously is all about having like millions of different gun combinations because it's all random. But like the best part about like, you know, those games for me was always like the super rare, like legendary like weapons. So like I remember in like Borderlands 1, the original, really early on when you do a quest for that like TK Baja guy, he gave you like a shotgun called like the Baja Blast.
I thought it was
like,
TK's Wave.
Or TK's Wave, maybe. I don't know what I'm saying.
Isn't that like a
That
drink?
is-
Oh, that's a drink at Bahama Bucks, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, sponsorship, give us money now. That's how that works.
This moment.
I just saved you from some shit if people call me on that.
Yeah, so when you say it was the TK Wave or whatever?
TK Wave. Or
TK
something
Wave.
like that.
But it like shot like 10, well, depending on, because there were even like variants in what you could get. So one of us could get one where it shot like 10 particles and it would like go up and down, and then the other person might have like 4, but they were more, like that's what I really liked. Like even where you had like unique, like in the new ones, like if you have unique like laser guns that are doing all these things, there's still uniqueness in that, because you could have ones that fire like a billion of them, or like, you know, so that's always fun if you're just wanting like just random craziness in, you know, the gun
I
aspect
agree.
of it. So
What do y'all think of, I'm going back to Squad. I haven't thought about that game in a moment, but it's really, really fun. It kind of has something interesting where it's like imbalanced, I guess, somewhat by design. I guess to explain that, the guns that, say, a US force versus like an insurgent force would have, the US guns are just objectively better.
yeah,
Like, they shoot more accurately, you have better sights, you have better explosives, pretty much everything's better. But with the way the game modes work, the US forces are almost always like moving in somewhere, attacking, they aren't having to defend something.
mm-hmm.
So it's kind of interesting how it's an FPS where rather than being balanced by like gameplay, it's more balanced by the context in which the gameplay is taking place.
Yeah, that reminds me a lot of like CS:GO, where you have the counter-terrorists and the terrorists overall just have they have like better weapons. They have the best weapon in the entire game, which is like the AK-47. It's way better than the M4 counterpart. But the reason why is because the terrorists are having to push and attack, and they're needing to have better weapons to like push into these sites. Versus, you know, playing as the CT, you get to just hold corners and literally just wait until people peek you.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting having like asymmetrical like kind of aspects of that. And one thing I do want to talk about is that new like Valorant game or whatever, the like League of Legends CS:GO or whatever.
Oh, the Riot.
Yeah. So I played it a lot when it was in beta. And I think like, I don't know why, it's a really good game. Like I didn't think it would be as good as it is. but like I don't know why it just doesn't feel like it has like heart or like soul to it. Like it's an amazing game, don't get me wrong, but like when you play like TF2, it's just like that game just oozes personality. It just like I don't know. It's you can tell like you're playing a game that was made by people that cared. But like Valorant, it just feels like people studied the market for like 4 years and figured out like statistically what would be the most fun, which they probably did.
You're
like,
acting like there's any chance that's not exactly.
yeah, that is exactly
happened.
what they did. But like you can feel it. I like it's just you can really
They didn't hide it
feel
well
it.
enough.
So I don't know, man. That makes me think of Evolve. Was Evolve first person or
Evolve-
third person?
Evolve
first
was.
Unless you're the monster.
Yeah.
Evolve was fun because that goes to like
The
asymmetrical.
game is dead as fuck, and I could tell from day one that it was going to be dead as fuck because their entire marketing strategy was buy all the DLC right now, pre-order it all. You'll get a bit of a discount, and you'll get like a nice skin or something.
And it was a $60 game too, I think.
yeah, with like
$60
$80 of add-on DLC.
There's
another
Day one.
$80.
YouTuber I binge every now and then, and he was one of the developers on Evolve.
Oh, really? You know, they're actually because the developers for Evolve are the developers for one of the best first-person shooters ever, Left 4 Dead,
Very good
Turtle
game.
Rock Studios, and they're actually making a new game that's like a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead, and I think it's called like Back 4 Blood or something. Just kind of funny, but I don't know. I'm kind of excited because like
because Valve won't.
the game itself wasn't bad for Evolve. Like the gameplay was really fun because it was unique. But
I mean, I think it's just because they had like that one. It was a really, really cool gameplay idea, but it was just like it always played out pretty much the same, and like that got kind of boring after a while.
yeah, I think they tried to relaunch it as like Evolve Stage 2, and it was like free to play, which is
Yeah,
that
I
game
played
needed
it
to
a
have
bit.
been free to play a little bit, and then like they took it down. But if you actually owned the game, like before they took it down, like you still have it and you can still play it. So I think literally all of us, if we get like 5 people together, we could still play Evolve, which is like pretty cool. We should do that at some point because Evolve is a fun game. Maybe not for. I think I played like 100 hours in the beta. That's what I always do. I play games and I burn myself out in the beta. That's kind of what I did with Overwatch.
Oh,
but
look at you, the struggles of a game reviewer.
well, no, but I
No,
mean,
I'm
like
joking.
Overwatch
I know,
was in review or beta like for
You remember when Time to Grind was an Overwatch channel?
back in the day, man.
But that's another. We can go about Overwatch as an FPS in a second, but that's a good example. But back to Fallout real quick. The other section of the survival aspect I was going to talk about is repair. I know, in any competitive version, repair should not be a thing, but in like any like single player survivalist setting, I really like the idea of it because it like punishes you for like using your guns too much and not maintaining them. And I feel like with the right like game designer, you could really add that with the modding of the weapons as like a cool like your weapon is like a part of you, like you spend like downtime like cleaning it and like
Oh yeah.
but in the game, yeah, like you can find like a really good weapon that the enemy has, but it's a shit like you've been using it for a while and it's kind of grody, and so you might just like rather than use it immediately, you just wait and put some like time like repairing it and stuff.
Yeah. It's kind of less about like the repairing aspect and more just about like the handling. But there's a game called Receiver, which is like a short like little indie game. They made a second one, but the cool thing about it is like all of the guns, like you have to actually like they're like literally how they work in real life. So like you have like 10 different buttons to control your gun, like in terms of like, doing like the cocking and like doing things. And if you like mess up, like if you do things like if you forget to like put the safety on or like cock it and you holster it, you have a chance of like firing yourself in the foot and like hurting yourself. And like if you shoot at like windows at certain angles, like the bullets can actually like bounce back and hit you if you like, I don't know, it's like a super realistic, in terms of the gun manufacturing in itself, which is
Cool.
kind of interesting. But I don't know, do we want to talk about Overwatch? That's a whole thing.
Are you like
I mean,
prepared?
that was a very popular FPS for
Yeah.
a while.
How do you feel about Overwatch?
It's just like overall what it comes down to, without going on like a 50-year rant, because I think I made a video literally of like a year after I quit Overwatch. I was like, I finally have reflected on why this game hurts me. And it's because MOBAs can be fun, right? You know, like Dota 2, League of Legends.
I have as of yet to see that, and I have over 1,000 hours of Dota, so I'm more than qualified to say that.
Heroes of the Storm really taught me that MOBAs can be fun, but that was because Heroes of the Storm is the most casual MOBA I've played, and it's less about like, I think it's more about a team.
I think you just got to put can in emphasis.
Yeah.
Because that's a MOBA for you.
It can be fun.
Dota caused so much stress, I am absolutely certain it took at least 1 year off my life.
Well, it definitely did. You spent like 1,000 hours or something, but
yeah.
So literally and later in life. But so like with MOBAs, it's like there's so much frustration because of the team composition phase, right? Like you literally can go into a game and before the match even starts, everyone could hate each other because like one person like wants mid, one person doesn't want to support. You know, you just like, you already have animosity before the game even starts. And so they're like, let's take a first-person shooter, which already has a toxic like fan base, and let's cram all the bad aspects of MOBAs in it. Like TF2 doesn't really do that because like TF2, like in competitive, they fit different roles. Like you want scouts for certain reasons, you want demo men for certain reasons. But like Overwatch took it to the level of MOBAs, where you have supports like Mercy, you have tanks, and so
You,
like
have to have those roles.
yeah, or you just lose, and so you have these people that like I remember because we used to play like we entered in a couple tournaments or whatever, and I was our DPS player. And like our hit scan DPS player. So when I wanted to practice, I would go in a game and I literally like it would suck to try to actually practice in quick match because everybody else wanted to be DPS player. No one wanted to heal. So you just have those like things. And that's why I liked Rainbow Six Siege, which Rainbow Six Siege, also one of my favorite first-person shooters because it's super unique. But it does kind of like what TF2 does, where it has a little bit of that class-based stuff and it has a little bit of the team composition, but it doesn't just like go 100% on it like Overwatch does. So it's never like super frustrating.
I really like Overwatch, and I still kind of miss playing every now and then. And I might go back at some point. What I really liked about it was always just it was a shooter, but then like it gave the MOBA aspect to it of both mobility and shooting style. Mm-hmm. So you have people with shotguns or charging shots or like super far away arrow, sniping. And in addition to that, how everyone moves around was different, and I loved that because you could suck at the game. But like playing as Genji is still fun for me. Yeah. Because you're fucking parkouring, climbing, and being a ninja. Or Mercy's flying around a little bit.
Yeah. And I think maybe I'm just super because like I think overall, I mean I spent probably like 700 hours in that game. Yeah, and like it's
for a game you hated.
Yeah, well I mean that's the thing. I think it's an amazing casual game. I think Overwatch is a fantastic casual game, but when you try to take it too seriously, I think that's when
you try to take most things too seriously, they end up kind of
that's fair.
It like sucks the joy out of it.
But like with a game like CS:GO, like you can carry, like if in CS:GO, if you're truly as good as you think you are, like even if you get matched with randoms, it can suck a little bit, but like you can like step up. But Overwatch, it's like you have one person that just picks like Widowmaker and literally is just like not hitting any of her shots. It's like
and the difference is just how quick everything ends in Rainbow Six. It's very tactical. Dead, game's over. Yeah. Overwatch every time. It's not about dying. It's about just sitting there while like we need to get to the point, guys. We need to get to the point, and you see like two Widowmakers in the back sniping. You're like,
it's like,
all right,
just a slow 10-minute demise.
You're just watching your counter go down at the top.
You could still win. Yeah. You have to try because you could still win, and like,
yeah. I don't know. So I think we're running a little short. Are there any other first-person shooters that we didn't mention that?
Definitely. We've
probably.
Absolutely
oh yeah, there's a million.
I'm
but
trying to think of anything from the stretches of my mind.
All the Halo games are cool. Most of the Call of Duty games are cool.
Do y'all remember Battlefield Friends? Like the
the YouTube series?
No, it was a game. Okay,
no,
you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Is it called Friends too?
I'm pretty sure.
Holden's right. Battlefield Friends is a web series.
All right, what's it called? Friends?
Online or
Battlefield Heroes?
Yeah, it was like
Heroes.
Battlefield.
Heroes.
Okay, yeah.
That was a weird game to me.
Yeah, that was like, for those of you who don't know, it's like, was it released by EA?
I don't know what it was.
It was like
As a kid, I was very confused at what it was.
it was like a Battlefield marketed towards like kids, I guess.
And free to play. I think it was literally like designed to be.
Wasn't it kind of like, was it a mobile game?
No,
No.
it wasn't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I never played it. I just know what
You had like
it was called.
3 classes. You had like
It was like Fortnite gameplay of Battlefield, where you had these cartoony characters that had like, there were vehicles, but you could just like go on the side of it, like on the wing and fire.
yeah, I remember that.
I will say, last thing about Battlefield, I think the number one thing that it will always stand in my mind for was how cool the destructibility was when I was younger. Like, being able to just like...
Is it still cool now that you're an old jaded adult?
No, because I can just see through it all. Like I remember like Battlefield 4, it was just like, there was this skyscraper map. Beginning of every map, people would just take tanks and just spend 10 minutes shooting the corner pillars of that big skyscraper so it would fall down and they could maybe get like 6 kills. Like, do you like... You know what I'm talking about?
I agree that they have gimmicks, but I think I like the gimmicks of that more than I like sometimes the standard gameplay of like Call of Duty games. I enjoyed Modern Warfare.
Do you remember the whole period of time where Battlefield was like really, really popular? And then I think it was like either Call of Duty Infinite or Ghosts.
Infinite
Advanced
Warfare came
Warfare.
out, and so Battlefield, for context, Battlefield 1 trailer came out, and it was a World War I game, which has almost never been done before, especially like a big AAA title like that, and everyone's like, oh shit, we get to fucking drive those like weird dopey-ass tank things and fly those like biplanes, and no more like tracking missile like jet things. It was cool. It was just a fresh new setting. And then you had the boop, 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 which is still my yeah, by our friend group mainly, but also the internet. And then immediately after, like a couple weeks after, they released a trailer for Infinite Warfare, which is not even more future, just like it's a space warfare. Like, yeah, it just failed, and like it was like the same style. They even had their own song they did while like Battlefield 1 did a variation of Seven Nation Army. They did ground control to mage. It was stupid.
Yeah. The other kind of like comparison was, do you remember like even further back when destructibility was like super huge in like Battlefield, and so Call of Duty tried to like mimic it, and they're like, see dude, you can like knock over the like logs on this map and it'll block off a entrance or something. Like they were trying to like hype up.
Which
how,
I think like mechanically, if it blocked up a whole like route in a map, wouldn't everyone just default to just
yeah, that's what happened. Because all you had to do was go up to it and press like hold X. And
immediately there's a whole area that you don't have to worry about people attacking you from.
Yeah, I don't know.
But no, it's just my style of playing. I like the stuff of it.
But yeah.
The one other game that Daniel somehow resurfaced to memories from the dredges of my mind is this game called like Batman like Gotham Vigilantes. Do you guys know about that game?
Was that the asymmetrical one?
It's kind of asymmetrical, but the whole gimmick of it is there's the people that are like fans of Batman and want to be like him, so they become vigilantes. And then there's like this weird cult of Joker. They want to be like Joker. So they all it's a first-person shooter where they fight each other, but with these dumb gadgets that they both like attempt to try to be their like.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know if it was good or not at all, but I just like the idea of that. Just like these pathetic versions of Batman and Joker fighting each other.
Yeah. The only other the only other like little thing I want to talk about shooters is arena shooters. Like the ones where normally it's like 1v1 or 2v2 or 3v3, and it's like a lot of movement ability, based, and you're like rocket jumping and stuff through the maps. I wish those would come back. It's like every like 2 years someone tries to like come up with a new one.
Crime Stopper? No. What was that? There was an arena shooter pretty recently. Lawbreakers?
Oh, Lawbreakers. That was everyone that has played that game will tell you that game was fire. That game was so much fun, and that's one of those examples like Evolve where the marketing killed the game. They literally like shit on console players for the longest time, and then they like came out on console, but it wasn't on Xbox. It was only going to be on PlayStation, or either way, I don't know. And like Cliff Bleszinski or whatever, the creator of it, like was just shitting on like everyone that game wasn't going to be accessible to it, and then it was like a $30 or $60 game, which like arena shooters that launch free to play nowadays don't succeed because there's just not a market for arena shooters anymore.
after only discovering when the last San Diego Comic-Con happened, the day after it happened, I now realize the true power of why marketing matters. Of like, if you don't know something comes out, how can you buy it?
Oh yeah.
Which, yeah, for context, like no one knew that San Diego Comic-Con was coming out on stream because they never really announced it, and it happened, and no one knows it happened.
How many people attended?
I don't. I mean, it was a stream, but probably enough. But like, I just didn't know fucking like it happened.
Yeah. And just
This is
it's
the
just one of
first
those
time
things.
hearing of it.
It's
Yeah.
like that's why like video game like budgets or just budgets for anything, like 25% of the budget is normally because you can make the best game ever. Like I saw when because I'm on a couple sites where like people are trying to like pay for sponsorships for people to like play their games or whatever. And there was this one where it was like a game that came out like 3 months ago, and it was like a super nice looking quality version of like Fistful of Frags. Like it was like a Western shooter, but like it looked insanely amazing, and like there were 4 reviews on it. Every single one was saying like this game is fantastic, it's amazing. No one's playing it, literally because it wasn't being marketed. You know what I mean?
You,
It's just
you know
it's
that
so
Avengers
important.
game that it's coming out next month.
Except I've heard the I've heard so much bad press.
Oh,
from
that's
that.
fair. That's fair.
I've
The
heard
game
people
is.
playing the beta saying that game is like hot garbage.
Well, that's not what we're talking about today. But
But yeah, that's for another day. That's for our episode on superheroes, which we talked about 4 months ago. So
Yeah.
But okay, well, it's been a ton of fun talking about one of my favorite, genres of shooters.
it's definitely one of the
really
most
wide open. So.
engaging and fun if it's your type of game.
Definitely widespread.
Oh, yeah.
You get to be the Matrix or any 80s action hero if you want.
Yeah. There's a lot you can do in it. So, okay. Well, thank you guys so much for sitting through all of this. If you guys are still watching or listening, we appreciate it a ton. If you guys have a first-person shooter that we missed out talking about, let us know in the comments down below. If you're watching on YouTube,
Shoot us a comment.
yeah,
why don't
shoot
you?
us a comment. And if you have any suggestions for future topics, let us know as well. But either way, guys, I guess we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Goodbye.